Okay, interview 4. Do you consider yourself retired?
Yes, but not by choice.
At what age did you retire?
At 65.
Do you feel as if older adults are delaying retirement from your observations?
I think so. I have a lot of friends that are eligible to start to draw Social Security and that are not yet because they're continuing to work and they want to try to work as many years as they can before they draw. So you know, we have several classmates that are still working that just and have delayed their Social Security.
What do you think the reasonings are?
Uh, well, a couple of them I know it's because they're of group insurance. If one of the spouses has a pretty good job that provides them with, with a pretty good group insurance policy, they continue to work. And that was when I worked at Hobby Lobby. There was a lady that she was strictly working past retirement age to keep her insurance.
Okay, Social Security is your primary source of income.
Yes.
When you were younger, because I know I've heard this, did you think that Social Security was going to be here when you hit this age?
No, you've heard many times that it was going to run out and not to count on it and not to, not let it be your plan for retirement because and I don't know what the truth is. I'm not that much into politics, so I don't know whether it's, if there's a deficit or somebody's stolen from the fund or borrowed from it, or, but it's many working people that pay into it. It would seem if it was handled right that it would not run out.
Um, Back before any illnesses occurred, let's think about unemployment. Unemployment is rising among adults age 55 and older. Can you talk about your experience with unemployment as a senior adult, since you and your husband both went through that?
Yeah. You hear a lot of people say, I can imagine that people can't find jobs. I know if I didn't have a job, I could find a job. And that's not always true. That it in theory it sounds like it. I think that if you've done a certain occupation or you were in a certain line of work that that you feel comfortable doing that type of work, that yes, you might could go out and find you a job, but the hours and the what you're used to would be so different that it wouldn't really. I don't know how to explain it. That you wouldn't really benefit from it. Financially, you might get a paycheck, and I guess that's the bottom line. But I think that the older you get, it's harder to adapt to new things. Physically, it's hard to stand on your feet and work long hours. And have a friend that took a part-time job, and she said, they wanted me to work 6 straight hours without a break, no, no water, you couldn't sit down, and that's hard when you get past that 55 age group.
Do you think that there's the government? I know they have other resources available if you suffer from just age discrimination or at a job. I mean, you can sue people for other kinds of discrimination, but about age.
Well, yeah, I think because of stories that make the news, people think that's true, but um, back, gosh, and I lost a job one time, and I felt like it was because I was a woman, because it always had been men in that job. And I did contact an attorney, and basically they said, you hear about the cases that make the news, but the majority, the truth is, the employer can hire or fire pretty much for any reason they want to. They can call it something else, but if they're firing you because you're ugly or you're fat, they can get away with it by calling it some other kind of insubordination or something, and it works out in the employer's favor, not the employee.
What about people who have taken time off for an illness or a family member's illness? Do you think that there's adequate resources? Are their jobs protected, or?
No, I think that's what the family medical leave was initiated for, and I think that's what it's supposed to do. But, I don't think it always. My husband was able to get that, and for the amount of time that he was on it, it kept us insured. So that was a big help, having that extra 12 months of medical insurance. But beyond that, there was no guarantee that he would have a job to return to, and they didn't offer any kind of extended circumstances or leave for his situation, which it seems like there should be some kind of leeway to case by case.
Do you have any peers your age that have relocated from their home to be near family because of their age?
Yes, a lot of people. I noticed something. I've been working on a class reunion, and you would think at a 50-year class reunion that people probably were still living in the same place they did 10 years ago. There wouldn't be a lot of movement, but I've noticed that a lot of people have changed, and they're living closer to their children and their grandchildren. It's more of a matter that they may have been in California and they were out there by themselves, and now that they're approaching 70 years old, they decided, hey, I better move back to Indiana where my kids are in case I get sick or in case I need someone. So I think that would be the tendency. My own parents moved here because they needed to be close to one of their kids.
So we've talked about your mom moving into a retirement center, and for everyone, do you think this has been a favorable experience?
For everyone in our family? I think that she probably was to the point that she did not need to live by herself, but I hate that she has, lost a lot of her spunk and independence, and it probably, with my personal situation, having to take care of my husband, it probably is a help that I at least have that peace of mind that somebody's feeding her and getting her medicine to her and getting her to doctor's appointments if I'm not available. So I think it's, it's hard. It's hard for me to justify the amount of money that they charge for what services they get, but I feel like it's much better than a nursing home situation. On my personal experience, any nursing homes I have visited, I have yet to visit one that I would want one of my loved ones to live in.
The assisted living, how does it differ? Do they have more, is it social, medical support? What's different than that between what you've seen in a nursing home?
But it is a lot social. They every day they have a schedule, and you can be as active as you want to, or or inactive. But there is planned activities. I think card playing and bingo and those type of things kind of keep their minds stimulated and keep them moving, get them out of the apartment. They have a lot of afternoon programs that draw people out, where you would tend to sit in your apartment until it was dinner time. It gets them out. They visit with each other. And even though a lot of them have a diminished, awareness, they still look out for each other. They notice if someone's missing at the dinner table, and they may ask at the desk, well, I noticed that Betty didn't come for dinner, or is anybody talked to her today? So I think they all enjoy that sense of security, that someone's looking after them or watching out for them.
Do you feel that this is an affordable option for most people?
I know, my husband and I do not make as much together as my mother's rent. So, I mean, it would not be an option for us to live there. I do have a friend that is my age, and her husband was older, and they lived there I think the last 5 or 6 years of his life. And she, moved out as after he died, because she was definitely by probably 20 years the youngest person there, and because her husband was older, they had the income, but with David and I being close in age and living on Social Security, I don't see it as an option for the average person that's living on income doesn't have a retirement pension or additional income in investments, or just an income above and beyond Social Security.
Most people prefer to stay at home, and why do you think are the reasons for that?
Well, I think it's just the familiar, and it depends on where home was. I think that it's what they know and what they're most of them have a routine, and but I think I've seen with my mom, you can adjust, because she went 1 week from living at home to this was a pretty quick transition for her, and I think she adjusted pretty well when you go from living in a 2,500 square foot home to I don't even know, a 800 square foot apartment, and she had to give up a lot of things. She had to put a lot of, let go of a lot of memories, and just detach herself from a lot of things that she and my dad had for 60 years, and but I'm sure that most people would prefer to stay at home, and we're just fortunate that she didn't fight us on. She was aware that she could no longer do that by herself, and she did not like the feeling of being alone, and with the way things are with the she wasn't the person that was going to install a doorbell. You could see who was at the door. It was better for her to be in assisted living where she knew, that someone was going to stop the person before they got to her door.
Okay, we talked in interview 2 about home and community-based services that you were trying to apply for your husband, and the application process needs to be more streamlined. Do you think that all that red tape just prevents some people from following through before they receive benefits and they just quit?
Yes, I definitely do. I think that if you don't have if you're overwhelmed and you're, you're just mentally stressed, and they just keep throwing up roadblocks, that you just have a tendency to give up and think, well, just forget it. And of course, I see that a lot with my mother, that, I'll tell her she needs to follow through with things, and she won't necessarily follow through because she's tired of dealing with it. She sold her house. She wants to be through with it, and we've seen that a lot with her in the last few months. And I probably have a tendency to do that too. I think is it really worth it? And it probably really, people that go follow through are the ones that end up, with the benefits.
It's the squeaky wheel.
Yeah, I think,
Do you regularly use technology?
yes.
What types of technology?
I have, I have a desktop computer, and on that, actually, I've been working on a class reunion, and I don't believe you can have have any kind of reunion without having personal contact with people, but I will have to say the technology, we've had people that we have had listed as missing since 1968, because before technology there was no way to track those people. If so many people don't have landline telephones now, and so if you don't have some kind of email address, or you're on Facebook, or something that can be verified, without technology, it's hard to locate them, and I think that's why so many people were listed as missing. And I found a service called Been Verified that's helped me. I was able to pretty much punch in 170 addresses just from that one website. So I think the technology is just making the world smaller every day.
So you use it for social?
Yes.
And information?
Yes.
You play games?
I do play games, yes.
What about health management?
Now, both of our hospitals have the web portals where you can go in. They're the hospitals and the clinics, and I do like that benefit. I can because I'm a night person, and 8 to 5 doesn't always suit me for calling or making appointments, and so I like the technology that I can go in there at midnight tonight and email the nurse at the doctor's office and say, I need to set up an appointment, or I need to change an appointment, or I can go in and look at my lab results if I've had any. I don't have to wait to see for someone to tell me. And my doctor has asked me, he said, do you use the portal? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, I'll shoot you a message with the test results when they get back. And so, it's a benefit to me, because I'm not a 8 to 5 person.
But your mother does not like it.
But now my mother does not, and she gets real upset when she gets a message that, you have a new test result on, CHI or whatever. I don't know why they do that. I've told them I don't use that. She doesn't like it. It's just a generation thing. She, thinks that it should be a telephone call, and when you call, you should be able to get an appointment that day. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work that way anymore.
But she uses the computer, but she just wants to see pictures.
She just likes to keep up with her family. She has a lot of nieces and nephews, and grandkids and great grandkids, and she really likes to be able to keep up with family members by checking her Facebook and see, and she for someone that's 86, she does pretty well with email and Facebook.
So you access medical records and prescriptions online, that kind of stuff. This is called telehealth in these days, and I know that they used telehealth in the diagnosis of Daddy's cancer. So can you describe how they I know we went into a meeting and they were like, we're going to meet with other people.
Like the conferences with the doctors. I think that, his oncologist did. She had a certain time each week that I think it was even had a name like the tumor board, and they met and went over cases. So, the more people you have, and the more, people, I think that's one reason that a lot of people are bothered by the number of people that are in and out of your room at UAMS, but when you realize that it's a teaching school and each person that comes in there, might bring something to the table that someone else didn't, and get you closer to, a diagnosis or figuring out what your treatment needs to be. So, I think the conference calls and the telecommunications is a good thing.
Yeah, I know that they brought in treatment plans or just ideas for treatment plans, his oncologist did, from a couple of different hospitals, because when they gave me the diagnosis, I searched it and I found like 2 results on Google because it was rare. And so it was nice to have that benefit that they could plop a chart to New York and say, can you look at this case and give us some feedback. So that's a way that technology is helping aging people, I think, or just anyone really. They can do that with, I had someone approach me yesterday that said, for $20 a month, you can have access to a medical doctor on all the time. If you're laying in bed and spike a fever, you can call them on your phone and they'll call you in a prescription. And that's new.
Well, that Dr. Phil and his son had that, and apparently it's a lot of people use it, but that doctor on demand, and he pushes it heavily on his show, but still they call and, they are able to get treatment, and, that, I think to some people that's probably a benefit. I mean, some people just have fear of going to the doctor, but they may know that, they may know that they know that they have a fever or that something, they have a sinus infection or something that at least they can call and get an answer. So, I don't think it would survive if there wasn't a need for it, and it seems like it's a good thing that people are using it.
Right. On Facebook, what are some ways that Facebook you think adds to your life? I think we've talked about a few of them, from caregiving, and you just mentioned class reunion.
Yeah, and just staying in touch with people, because and it's a good and it's a bad thing, because earlier today I was thinking about a couple of people that I really needed to sit down and write cards to, or write notes to, and I think it would be a lot easier to go in there and pop them a couple of lines on Facebook, but it kind of worries me that it's going to become a lost art to actually put in writing or write down your feelings, or thank yous, or acknowledgments, or just you think about the presidential libraries. What are the presidents going to have to put in there in the future if everything is technology? That they don't have any letters they wrote to their wife in the war. They don't have any letters that it's all on Twitter, or is he going to have a whole library of tweets?
You play computer games. Do you think that they help to keep your mind active?
I think I don't know if they keep it active. They just kind of break the monotony and the boredom of other things in your life. You can, I don't know about stimulating your brain as so much as it's a no-brainer that you can just let forget about everything else for a little while and crush candies and forget about wild problems you have or what else you need to be doing.
Okay, staying with the healthcare line, have you benefited from the Affordable Care Act?
As far as the actual insurance, when I had it, yes, I did, but the way they had it set up, and they allowed you so much credit on your, I thought the actual premiums for what they said the actual insurance would cost if you didn't have the affordable care were outrageous. I mean, it's like, yes, it was good to have, but without the Affordable Care Act, would I have paid $900 a month for it? No, I would not have, and I don't think that you really should have been charged for that much of a what was it called? Not a substancy where you got for, because I got like $560 a month credit on my monthly insurance. Okay, when at the end of the year came and they sent my statement, and then they said, "Oh, you should have only gotten this much instead of." So the last 2 years, I had to pay back what I got on affordable care, and I mean, we didn't have any income. We didn't pay any income tax in, and I wasn't expecting a refund, but I sure wasn't expecting to have to pay back the affordable care premium.
Right. I'm not sure everyone understood that going in, that it was based on an average, and if you went above that, then you had to pay the difference.
Right.
I
And there wasn't
none
even
of us read it all. I mean,
yeah, there wasn't even a place on the income tax form to put that. I mean, yes, you got a form like a 1099 or whatever that told you how much you got, and but there wasn't a name for it when you had gotten more credit than you should have been allowed, and it was very confusing. There was a place on there that said, "Would you like to take less?" And the second year, I said yes, because I did not want to have to pay it back, and I still ended up owing $500 at the end of the year. And that, I don't think a lot of, I never had to pay a penalty because I always had insurance, but I just wonder in my mind what the penalty was versus what I had to pay back.
What type of Medicare do you have? Is there?
I just have what comes with your Medicare Part A and B. I do not have a supplement. My husband thought that you had to have a supplement, but you're not required by law to have one. You do have to have the Medicare comes out of your Social Security check. I don't think you can decline that. You might decline one part, but I'm not sure. But in our case, I just financially have not had the money to purchase supplements, and it comes out pretty close because our income qualifies us for reduced. It's not reduced fees. I forgot what it's called. Like a charity type level at the hospital. They have different levels, and so we qualified to have so much percentage of our expenses written off, and that it usually balances out. I mean, for what I would have to pay for a supplement, and maybe get that much paid on the bill, I think I probably come out with it, because being low income, having the difference reduced, the balance reduced.
Did someone explain to you all of the different A, B, C, D? Do you have any idea what that means?
No, I've looked at it, and you get bombed when you're getting ready to turn 65. You get bombarded that whole year of advertisements and you need this and you need that, and even on the internet all the ads pop up, and this is all you'll ever need, and AARP sponsors this, and so it's got to be good if they endorse it. And I've heard people say, oh, they pay for vision and dental and hearing aids now, which they never have. But now basic Medicare doesn't pay for those things. It's whatever kind of supplement you purchase. And so again, you have to weigh out what are the monthly premiums going to be, and if you can't afford to pay it per month, and for two people, I just don't I don't know that the supplements are to our advantage right now.
Does the kind that you have cover prescriptions?
No, you have to purchase a separate Medicare. Basic Medicare A and B does not cover prescriptions, so we have to pay for those ourselves.
Have you ever had to decline a prescription from a doctor based on cost?
Yes. The last time I went to see my primary care, he gave me a new prescription for my diabetes, and the pharmacy said it was $425 a month, and I said I will not be picking it up.
Much like childhood prevention programs like immunizations, can you think of some examples that would benefit elders that would be proactive instead of reactive?
Yeah, you see a lot of the advertisements that say, there's a list of $4 prescriptions or whatever, or there's, fees, and I think that, the communications between the doctors and the pharmacist and that I think they should, if a medicine does the same thing, whether it's $4 or $400, that they should try to give the patient the $4 prescription if that's what's covered on their insurance and or their their program, because I've always heard about people going without medicine, and I just thought, oh, I can't, it's hard to believe, but I certainly believe that now there are a lot of elderly people that have to choose between eating and picking up medications, and I just, that's hard to believe in 2018, but I think that's a reality every day.
Okay, that's all I have for interview 4. We're done.